Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Caregiver and Spoonie podcast. I'm your host, Jordan Banderas. And just a quick reminder, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any episodes. And once again, thank you for all the emails, all the feedback, everything, all the support I have received. Thank you. I appreciate the community a lot because it has helped me grow in so many ways. So let's get into today's episode. On today's episode, I wanted to talk about something that I learned a long time ago, and I wanted to share that with you. It's about asking the right questions to ourselves. Like I have said on previous episodes, sometimes we have to start with ourselves to fix our problems, and it all starts with the mind. And I'm going to explain pretty much my journey. I already shared my journey on the blog, and I'm still going to share some of those stories with you on the podcast. But I want to show you that it can be done. Because a lot of people, I have talked to a lot of people, and it's like, it's not for me. And then I remember back before I got married and years ago, I tried to read and do self-development, but I guess I wasn't ready. So just because you might not understand it right now, that doesn't mean that it's not for you. It just means that you might not be ready, or you don't know exactly what to do or where to start. Now, one of the things that actually helped me a lot, and it's something that we don't really understand unless we pay attention, is the way that we ask questions to ourselves. There are negative questions and there are positive questions, which is something that I when I found out, I'm like, I'm going to put that to the test. A negative question will be something like, why does this happen to me? Like that part of why. Unfortunately, the way that it works on your brain is that it's going to trigger something that say like, oh, this happens to you because you were bad in school, or you were this in school, or you did this, or because this person said, like, what, like some people might say, I ask myself this, is like, why did I get hit by a bus when I got hit by a bus? And the first thought that came into my mind is like, because you were a bad kid and you literally skipped school, you decided to leave school, so it's your own fault. So that's what the negative question does. And one of the things that I found out is that you shouldn't be asking yourself why. There's only two things that I have used so far and that have helped me. I don't know if they're gonna help you, but all you can do is try. You instead of asking yourself why, or say like, why does this always happen? Things like that. It's kind of like saying why does this always happen? Why me, or something like that. It's kind of like being like open to receive more of the bad stuff. So instead of saying that, we should be saying how come and what. So in this situation, for example, like, I've been feeling a lot of discomfort. I didn't know that word. I didn't know what that meant. Like, I have a freaking knot on my back between the shoulder blade and the lung. Like, I wasn't in pain, and I was like, how come I feel like almost ready to snap? I'm like, how come? And what happens when you ask those type of questions to yourself, and I don't want to go into like too much detail, like too deep or anything like that, unless you want me to, but send me an email about that. When you ask those questions like, how come I feel like this? What happens is that your brain, your mind, literally, it's like Google. You're going to find the answers within yourself. When you ask, how come? This is what happened to me. Like, I was like, how come I feel like this? Like, I feel like ready to snap. I was feeling snappy. I'm like, am I in pain? No. And I started asking questions like, am I sad? No. I'm like, what is going on? And then me and my wife decided to take the dogs out. And there was this little Chihuahua. And if you know a Chihuahua, they're annoying. But this dog was really annoying because, first of all, it wasn't with its owner. It was on leash. It was just literally almost like a stray dog, but with like a collar, and I couldn't grab him to take him home. So if for some reason I snapped at the dog, I was like, this dog is not letting my dogs like walk in peace, and I'm like, I just want to be in peace. And then I asked myself the question is like, how come I'm snapping at this dog? And then all of a sudden I felt the a little bit of pain, a little bit of discomfort in my back, and I'm like, oh my gosh, is that knot? Like that knot is not letting me like feel good, like, like without like discomfort. So I asked I talked to my wife. I told her like, hey, this is how I'm feeling. Like I'm feeling all of this. Is like, oh, so you're in pain? I'm like, no, it doesn't feel like I'm in pain. It feels like it's like there's another word like and we were talking about it. It's like, oh, do you feel like? She's like, you feel like this. You feel like stress. I'm like, no, it's not stress. It's like, and then she finally said like, oh, you feel discomfort. I'm like, yes, that's exactly what it is. And then what happened is that all of that started when I started asking myself like, how come I feel like this? And it was because of that knot. Like, and it all started when I asked how come. It was, I figured out that it was the knot, and then I was able to like work on it. I work on the knot. We have this little thing that you just put on the knot and press on it, and literally gets rid of it. So that helped me. So what I'm saying is that if you ask yourself the right questions, like how come I feel like this, or how come the how come this happened to me, then you're gonna see it from a different perspective, instead of like, why does this happen, and the first thought is gonna be like, it's because you did this. If you say, how come this happened to me, you might say like, oh, it's because instead of seeing it this way, you saw it this way, or it's because you look at the wrong information from the wrong source. Or in other cases, when you ask like, what, like for example, what do you want to do? Like you have something to do, what do you want to do first? Or what kind of life do you want? Like, do you want to get better? Yes. What do I need to do to get better? Okay, I need to research. I need to eat healthier. I need to listen to my doctor. I need to see what kind of side effects my medicines have. So if you ask the right questions, you're gonna get the right answers. And this is something that has helped me a lot. Like I mentioned with the knot, like I was ready to snap at somebody, but then I asked myself that question: how come? How come I feel like that? So I was able to find the answer within me, and that's what they say when they say the answer is within you. All the answers you seek are within you or inside of you, and that is true. It's just that we don't know what questions to ask so we can actually find the right answers. And as a Spoonie, that can be even more hard because you might be in pain or discomfort, you might be exhausted, you might be like, oh, like why again, or like this. So you and one of the things that you can try, this is how I try. Like when I first heard that, I was like that doesn't make sense. Like it didn't make sense to me, but I'm a skeptic. You can ask my wife. I question everything. And as Spoonies, or even if you're not a Spoonie or caregiver, like I said, this podcast is for everyone. You should question everything. It's like not but a why, but it's like, how does that work? Or how come does that happen? Or what do I need to do to learn this? What do I need to do to get a better doctor? What do I need to do to get like that promotion that I need? So you cannot start to thinking in a way to set up a plan. That's pretty much how I see it. And so far it has worked. Like it has worked with the podcast. Like this is how I've been able to improve myself. Is like I always ask myself this question, like, what do I need to do today to be better than yesterday? That's my first question that I ask myself every morning, and it has helped me. It's like, okay, you need to pay more attention to this. You need to read this book. You need to do this. You need to do that. Because like I mentioned, our minds know us the best. Nobody's gonna know you better than yourself. That's why sometimes for some people, therapy doesn't work because the therapist is either not listening or not asking the right questions. And also we have to be willing to open up and answer those questions ourselves. Because if you're not open, if you're not willing to find the answer, or if you're not willing to listen to the answer, then there's not going to be a point in trying to even ask the question. Because this is pretty much my experience. I used to be so close-minded, where I was like, that's life. That's this. Or it's like, oh, it's because I didn't go to school. Like, how come I can't make any more money? Oh, because I didn't go to school. Or I'm not, how come one day, there was this time where I asked myself this question, I remember. I say, like, why is it that I can't make more money? And the answer that came into my head was, because you didn't go to school. So what does that do? I start feeling bad about myself because I didn't go to school. But if I asked myself the question is, what can I do to make more money? Well, in this situation is like, okay, you can study, you can learn a new trade, you can do something, but without putting myself down. So there's the difference. That's what has been working for me. You can ask my wife how if I have changed since I started doing it, and I see the changes even on myself, because I can stop myself from like snapping and being like, huh, wait, how come you feel like that, or what is going on? Like every time I walk the dogs, I talk to myself. I ask myself those questions like, how are you feeling? How come you're doing this? How come what can you do to improve this? And it doesn't really matter what anybody thinks about me, because I'm improving myself, and that's what matters. So if you're afraid of asking yourself those questions, don't be afraid. The only thing that I will say, like the only thing that I was afraid of is not willing to pay attention to the answer, or not willing to listen to the answer. That's actually dangerous, because you yourself, when you ask yourself that type of question, you might be giving yourself the best answer that you have, something that can improve your life. But if you're in the wrong state of mind, where you don't even pay attention to yourself or whatever is happening to you or for you, then that's when opportunities get missed. That's when you might have an idea and you might be like, no, I'm too dumb for that. I'm gonna give you another example. Before I get married my wife, I would say like 7-8 years ago, when bitcoins were relatively low in price, I keep seeing about it. I keep hearing about it. And I was like, that sounds pretty interesting. I talked to my uncle. And I talked to other people, and he's like, oh, it's not going to be worth it. It's just this. It's just that. So I didn't inform myself. And then one day I heard about this kid buying like a bunch of bitcoins. I'm like, if that kid can do it, I can. But I didn't know exactly how to do it. And I was, in the question that I asked myself is like, why should I do this? Or it was something, it was a why question. I was like, why can I not understand this? Like, I think that's what it was. It was like, why can I not understand this? And the answer was, it's because you're dumb. It's because you didn't go to school. You didn't never pay attention. So I was like, okay, this isn't for me. A few years later, dang, Bitcoin is like, I could have made millions of dollars. And I kicked myself in the butt, but it's like, okay, I learned my lesson. That's another thing, and that I'm gonna be talking on the podcast about learning lessons. But in this situation, I learned my lesson, and I see myself in that situation where now, let's say I have the same opportunity. If I had that knowledge that I have now back then, I would have been like, okay, I don't know anything about Bitcoin. What do I need to do to learn more about Bitcoin? So I would have like researched it. Okay, how can I buy Bitcoin? So I would have been able to do it, instead of asking myself like, why do I need to do this, or why can't I understand? So that's why you ask yourself the right questions. What do I need to do? What can I do? Or how? How does this happen? How did this happen? How am I feeling? So those are things that have helped me. I wanted to share all of this with you guys, because all you need to do is try. As Spoonies and caregivers, all we need to do is try. We're pretty much almost like scientists, literally. Like, all we do is gonna do try to improve our lives. So if you see anything that can help you on the podcast, all you can do is try. If it doesn't work, change it, make it into your own. Don't give up. That's what I'm trying to say. I never gave up, and I see the changes, so I know that this can change, and I also see the changes that I'm able to help my wife with. So I know it can be done. It's hard. Like I have always said, it's not gonna be easy. It's hard, but it's worth it. So that's what I wanted to talk about today on this episode. Like I said, don't forget to subscribe. I appreciate you guys. I love the feedback. I love the support. And if you know anybody that can actually take advantage of this podcast and probably learn something or is going through a hard time, don't forget to share, like, subscribe, comment. And if you want to share your story, you can do it on Facebook or send me your story anonymously at the Caregiver and Spoonie at gmail.com. And I'll leave you like always. Always take care of yourself. Have a good day.